Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam.
Hello, one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of this online refresher course for commerce and management planned by the UGC HRDC, Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. I would like to thank Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi, Director of UGC HRDC, Gujarat University. I am also grateful for all the team members who have given us the opportunity to be part of this great initiative and bring the learnings to the young budding faculty members. I am sure that large number of faculty members in the field of commerce and management would be benefiting out of this course. Personality is a very important concept in the field of organization behavior. Personality matters to the organization behavior a lot. It does not explain all behaviors, but it definitely set a platform for the managers and anyone who is dealing with the people to better deal with the employees, the individuals whom they come across. So during this conversation, we'll be discussing a lot of emerging theories, lot of theories which have built a block of the concept of personality. We'll also understand how personality matters in many situations and how it can be dealt with. Every trait has an advantage and a disadvantage for the work behavior. And there is no perfect constellation of traits that is ideal in every situation. Personality can help us understand why people, including ourselves, behave, think, and feel the way they do. And the astute manager can put that understanding to take care of the employees and the work in a much better way so that it is best fitted to the individual's personality. So, with this note, once again, I welcome you all. Hello, one and all. It's a pleasure to be in front of you discussing about a very important concept of personality. Personality is derived from the Latin word persona, meaning mask. To Romans, persona is denoted as how one appears to the other person, not as one actually is. Therefore, the Latin word persona reflects a mask. Further, there are many definitions given by various researchers and authors. One of them, very old one, I would like to quote, is from Hall and Lindsay. They classified personality in two headings. First being the usage, which is equal to the term to social skills. So an individual's personality is assessed by the effectiveness with which he is able to elicit positive reactions from a variety of persons under different circumstances. The second usage considers personality to inhere in the most outstanding or salient impression which a person creates on others. The popular non-scientific definition of personality quoted above has two defects. First, it emphasizes only on the manifest aspect of the intricate pattern of personality. Second, It emphasizes only the objective aspects of personality. It does not indicate the real personality, the subjective or the interior organization, which is responsible for expressive aspects. So I'll give other few definitions about personality. Densheel, 1949, defined personality as a total picture of an individual's organized behavior. Moon, 1965, defined personality as the most important characteristic integration of an individual's structure and activities. It's characteristic in dual sense. First, it is unique, thus differentiating the individual from the others. Second, it is fairly consistent, representing the customary integration of a particular individual's structure and activities. Allport, who has been pioneer and has done great work in the area of personality, defined personality as a dynamic organization within an individual of those psychophysical systems that determine his characteristic behavior and thought. So let's elaborate his definition. His definition defined some keywords. First keyword being organization. Patterning of independent parts of personality structure, each of which has a special relation to the whole, depicts the organization. Dynamic. It's constantly evolving or changing nature of personality. Therefore, it is dynamic. Not only does the personality become more complex in structure as the individual's physical and psychological characteristics are developed, but from time to time, from situation to situation, there are changes in the structure and organization. The third keyword, psychophysical system. The psychophysical system is a combination of habits, attitudes, emotional states, sentiments, motives, beliefs, all of which are psychological but have physical basis in individuals' natural and general bodily state. They are the product of learning. The fourth keyword is the determinant. The word emphasizes the motivational role of psychophysical system within the individual. These systems lie behind specific sets and influence the form they will take. Once the attitude, belief, habit, sentiment, or some other elements of the psychophysical system have been aroused by the stimulus, either from the environment or from the within the individual, it provokes adjustive and expressive acts which are characteristic form of expression of that individual. The fifth keyword is characteristics. The characteristics refers to the distinctiveness in a person's behavior as an expression of pattern of a particular psychophysical system. The last is the behavior and thought. So the behavioral environment involves the mastery as well as the passive adaptation. So I repeat the definition of all four, for which individual points have been elaborated. So bringing all of them together, Allport defined personality as a dynamic organization within the individual of those psychophysical systems that determine his characteristic, behavior, and thought. So how the personality is determined? The personality are determined by 6 important characteristics. First, the physical determination. Second, intellectual determination. Third, emotional determinants. Fourth, social determinants. Fifth, aspirational and achievement determinations. Sixth, family determinants. The physical determinant comprises of the body, which has a direct influence on the quality and quantity of a person's behavior, and direct influence through the way person perceives his body as a source of self-evaluation. Body build directly influences personality by determining what the person can or cannot do. What are his energy levels? What will be his reaction to those who are superior and inferior body build as compared to him? Indirectly, body build influences personality and the degree of satisfaction that the person experiences through his body. The second determinant is the intellectual determinant. It provides the person with the capacity to meet and solve the problems that adjustment to life requires. Intellectual capacity influences personality directly through the kind of life adjustment the individual makes, and indirectly through the judgment others make of him on the basis of his intellectual achievement. Intelligence affect the adjustment in terms of the values, morality, and humor. The third is the emotional determinant. Emotions are very important personality determinant because they affect personal and social adjustments. They do so directly by colorizing, or you can say coloring interest, attitude, like, dislikes, by upsetting homostats. Indirect effect comes from social judgments based on how a person handles his emotions, from his ability to establish emotional relationship with others. Emotional balance, deprivation, expression, stress, they affect the personality directly and indirectly. Hence, emotions are a great determinant of the personality. Social determinant. The social group judges a person in terms of his conformity with the group expectation regarding proper performance behavior and the role the person is playing. Social judgments then influence self evaluation and hence the self concept. Social deprivation, social acceptance, social status, social mobility, all these have a direct impact on the personality. Aspiration and achievement determination. Aspiration are ego, involved goals the person sets for himself. Aspiration is influenced by intelligence, sex, personal interest, and values. Family pressure, group expectation, culture, tradition, competition, past experience, mass media, personal characteristics are also part of the aspirations. Level of aspirations affect the personality. Achievement can be judged objectively by comparing a person's achievement with those of the peers, and subjectively by comparing the achievement of his level of aspirations. The last determinant is the family determinant. It influences the personality from the childhood. So personality comes while we train a child. The methods we use, the mold personality pattern, the communication of interest, the attitudes and values between the family members. The indirect effect comes from the person's identification with a family member he admires, respects, loves, and whom he either consciously or unconsciously imitates, and the mirror image of the family member provide him to evaluate himself. The family climate, order of birth, size of family, family composition, role played in the family, social acceptance of the family, definitely affects the very important research done by Sigmund Freud in the area of psychoanalytic perspective defines the level of awareness in three ways: conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. Conscious is all the things that we are aware of at any given moment. Preconscious is everything that can, and with a little effort, be brought to the conscious. Unconscious is inaccessible warehouse of anxiety producing thoughts and drives. So Sigmund Freud defined the level of awareness in three categories. The structure of personality as defined by Freud consists of three components: id, ego, and superego. Id, id is the biological basis of personality. It consists of inherited characteristic of individual and as a collection of instinctive desires, urges, needs, all demanding immediate gratification. It is irrational and impulsive, adhering to the pleasure principle. Ego is the main mental force controlling the behavior in well-adjusted adult. Ego pursues pleasure. Ego is capable of logical reasoning and learning by experience. Functions of ego is self-preservation. While superego is the voice of parents and their moral standards as perceived by the child. Now the ego has to balance the demands of the two opposite acting and equally powerful forces of the it and the superego. This creates a pressure on the ego when the inner war of id, ego, and superego gets out of hand. That results in anxiety. Ego protects itself from anxiety via some defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are unconscious mental process employed by ego to redirect anxiety by distorting the reality. The various defense mechanisms as classified by Sigmund Freud are repulsion, reaction formation, displacement, sublimation, projection, rationalization, and regression. Repression is keeping the anxiety producing thoughts out of the conscious mind. Reaction formation is replacing an unacceptable wish with its opposite. Displacement is when a drive directed to one activity by the id is redirected to a more acceptable activity by the ego. Sublimation is the displacement of activity that are valued by the society. Projection, reducing the anxiety by attributing unacceptable impulses to someone else. Rationalization is reasoning away anxiety producing thoughts. And regression is retreating to a mode of behavior characteristic of an early stage of development. So these were the defense mechanisms when the id and the superego are, gets out of hand and result in the anxiety. We have discussed about the concept of personality. We have talked about the determinants of personality and also discussed the research of Sigmund Freud. Let us understand what the different types of personality are as per the research and according to various authors. So the first classification of personality is the extroverts and the introverts. The people are either introverts or extrovert as per the various books and researches. The extroverts are more directed towards the objective, and introverts are directed towards the more subjective world. The various activities of thinking, feeling, sensing, intuitiveness, according to their own judgments, information, the introverts and the extroverts are distributed. So the extroverts are more interested in what is happening around them. They are more open and talkative. Compare their own options with the opinions and options of others. They are very open in comparison. They like action and initiatives. They easily make up friends or adapt to new groups. They do not find it difficult to say what they think. They are interested in new people. They easily break the unwanted relations. While the introverts are interested in their own thoughts and feelings. They need to have their own territory. They work well alone. They often appear to be reserved, quiet, thoughtful. Usually they do not have friends. They have difficulty in making contacts. They like to be quiet and concentrated in their own world. They do not like unexpected visits, and therefore they do not take them as well. So the first classification of personality is the extroverts and the introverts. The other is the sensing and intuitive. So there are two types of people who are sensing or who are intuiting. Sensing is the ability to deal with information on the basis of physical qualities that affect the other information. Intuition is the ability to deal with the information on the basis of its hidden potential and its possible existence. So the sensing type of people see everything, everyone, which they can visualize. They live in the here and now, that is the present situation. They quickly adapt to the situation. They like pleasures based on physical sensation. They are practical and active. They are realistic and self-confident. While the intuitive type of people are mostly in the past or the future, they are very much worried about the future more than their present. They are interested in everything new and unusual. They do not like the routine. They are attracted more to the theory than their practice, and definitely have a lot of doubts. This talks about the difference between the sensing type and the intuitive type. The other type of personality classification is given by the Myers and Briggs indicator. But before we come to Myers and Briggs, there is one more type of personality which will help us develop the further more bigger concepts of various types of personality, is the thinking and the feeling. Thinking is the ability to deal with the information on the basis of its structure and its function. Feeling is an ability to deal with the information on the basis of its initial energetic conditions and its interaction. The most common difference between the thinking and the feeling. The next type of personality being the thinking and the feeling. Thinking is an ability to deal with information on the basis of its structure and function, while feeling is the ability to deal with information on the basis of its initial energetic conditions and its interaction. So the people who are thinking and feeling are different. So a thinking kind of a personality are more interested in systems, structures, patterns, are exposed to everything to logical analysis, and they are relatively cold and unemotional. They evaluate things by intellect and right or wrong. They have difficulties in talking about feelings. Also, they do not like to clear the argument or quarrel. They are thinking types. The feeling types are the people who are interested in their feelings, in people and their feelings. They easily pass their own moods to others. They pay great attention to love and passion. They evaluate things by ethics and good or bad, can be touchy about emotional manipulation, and often give compliments to please the people. The other type of personality is the perceiving and judging. Perceiving types are motivated by activity that changes a particular situation. Judging types are motivated into activity by their decision resulting from changes in a situation. The most common differences between the perceiving and judging personality is that the perceiving personality act impulsively following the situation. They can start many things at once without finishing them properly. They prefer to have freedom from obligations. They are curious and like a fresh look at things. They work productively, but depend on their moods. They often act without any preparation. The judging personality do not like to leave unanswered questions. They plan their work ahead and tend to finish it. They do not like to change their decisions. They have relatively stable work ability. They easily follow rules and discipline. Myers and Briggers have given the personality type indicators, and it is most widely used as an assessment tool for the personality. As an indicator, it has 100 questions, which helps to judge a personality. It asks people how usually they feel or act in a situation. The respondents, or you can say the personality, is then classified as extroverted or introverted, sensing or intuitive, and feeling or thinking. The next personality type, as suggested by Myers and Briggers, is a personality assessment instrument. This is a 100-question personality test that asks people how they usually feel or act in a situation. The respondents or the personality are classified as the extroverted and introverted, sensing or intuiting, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. Extroverted versus the introverted. We have discussed these personality types earlier. However, Myers and Briggers also categorizes them into these types. Extroverted individuals are outgoing, sociable, and assertive. Introverts are shy and quiet. Sensing versus the intuitive. Sensing are practical people and prefer routine and order. They focus on details, while the intuitives rely on unconscious processes and look at a bigger picture. Thinking versus feeling. Thinking types use reason and logic to handle the problems. Feeling type rely on their personal values and emotions. Judging versus perceiving. Judging types want to control and prefer order and structure, while the perceiving type are more flexible and spontaneous. So Myers and Brigger's personality instrument describes the personality by identifying one trait from each of the four pairs. For example, introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging people. In short, we call them INTJs. They are the people who are visionaries with original mind and great drive. They are skeptical, critical, independent, determined, and they are often stubborn. ENFJs, extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. They are natural teachers and leaders. They are rational, motivated, intuitive, idealistic, ethical, and kind. ESTJs, extroverted, sensing, thinking, and judging. They are organizers. They are realistic, logical, analytical, and decisive, perfect for business or mechanics. ENTP. ENTP is extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and perceiving. They are innovative, individualistic, versatile, attracted to entrepreneurial ideas. These persons tend to be more resourceful in solving challenging problems, but may neglect the routine assignments. So, the Mayer and Brigger personality instrument ensures that the four type of personality is being identified based on the 100-item questions that is being used in the instrument. The next type of personality is the Big Five personality model. The Big Five is as popular as the Myers and Brigger's model. But here, there are 5 personality types which are suggested: consciousness, emotional stability, extroversion, openness, agreeableness. So the first one is the consciousness. This dimension is a measure of reliability, consciousness. A highly conscious person is responsible, organized, dependable, persistent. So those who score low on this dimension are easily distracted, disorganized, and unreliable. The second type of personality is the emotional stability. This dimension taps a person's ability to withstand stress. People with emotional stability tend to be calm, self-confident, and secure. High scorers in this type are more likely to be positive and optimistic and experience fewer negative emotions. They are generally happier than the low scorers. Emotional stability is sometimes the converse of neuroticism. So the low scores, that is, those people who are high on neuroticism, are hypervigilant, vulnerable to physical, psychological effects of stress. Those with high neuroticism tend to be nervous, anxious, depressed, and insecure. So the opposite of neuroticism in the Big Five is the emotional stability. Extroversion is the same that we have discussed earlier also. But to repeat, as it is part of the big five, one of the personality trait, it is the dimension which captures our comfort level with relationships. So extroverts tend to be more gregarious, assertive, sociable. They are generally happier and are ambitious. They experience more positive emotions than the introverts. They are more freely expressing their feelings. So, on the other hand, introverts, the personality who is lower on extraversion, tend to be more thoughtful, reserved, timid, and quiet. The fourth type of personality in the big five is the open to experiences dimension, addresses the range of interest and fascination with novelty. Open people are creative, curious, artistically sensitive. Those at the low end of this category, that is, people who score less on this, are more conventional and find comfort in the familiar. Agreeableness is the fifth type of personality trait. Agreeableness dimension refers to the individual's propensity to defer to others. Agreeable people are cooperative, warm, and trusting. We might expect that agreeable people would be happier than disagreeable people. They are, but only slightly. When people choose organization team members, agreeable individuals are usually the first choice. In contrast, people who score low on agreeableness are cold and antagonist. Let's see how these five personality traits of Big Five are related to the workplace behavior. So many researchers have researched using the Big Five personality and found that personal attributes related to consciousness and agreeableness are very important for success across many jobs, spanning across high to low levels, from job complexity to simple jobs, from training and experiences. So the employees who score higher in consciousness develop higher levels of job knowledge, probably because highly conscious people learn more than their counterparts. Conscious people are able to maintain their job performance when they face abusive supervision. Emotional stability at work. Mostly, strongly, this characteristic is related to life satisfaction, job satisfaction, and low stress level. Employees who exhibit high emotional stability can adapt to unexpected and changing demands in workplace. At the other hand, the neurotic individual who is unable to cope to these changing demands experience burnout. These people also tend to experience work-family conflict, and this can affect their work outcomes. Extraversion at work. Extroverts perform better in jobs with significant interpersonal interactions. They are socially dominant. They take charge and are usually more assertive than introverts. Extroverts are relatively strong predictor of leadership emergence in groups. Some negatives are there with extroverts as they are more impulsive than the introverts. They are more likely to be absent from work. They may be more likely than introverts to lie during the job interviews. Openness at work. People who are open are more likely to be effective leaders and more comfortable with ambiguity. They cope better with organization change and are more adaptable. While openness isn't related to initial performance on job, Individuals higher in openness are less susceptible to decline in performance over longer period of time. Open people experience less family and work conflicts. Agreeable personality at work. Individuals who are agreeable are better liked than disagreeable people at work. They tend to do better in interpersonally oriented jobs such as customer services, human resource department. They are more complaint and rule abiding, less likely to get into accidents, more satisfied with their jobs. They also contribute to the organization performance by engaging in organization citizenship behavior. Disagreeable people, on the other hand, are more likely to engage in counterproductive work behavior. These type of behavior are generally affecting negatively the job performances. These people are low in their consciousness. Low agreeableness also predicts the involvement in work accidents. Agreeableness is associated with lower level of career success. Perhaps highly agreeable people are considered themselves as less marketable and are less willing to assert themselves. These were the 5 personality traits given by the Big Five model. According to various researchers, there are few more personality traits which have recently come into the notice of the academic community. These are, first, the dark triad, narcissism, psychopathy. Let's take up the 3 one by one. They all are related to negative personality traits. With the exception of neuroticism, the Big Five personality traits are what we call as the socially desirable traits. And everyone would be very happy to score high on them. But the researchers have found 3 other socially undesirable traits, which we all have in varying degrees. We are also relevant to the organizational behavior. These personality traits are the Machiavellianism, the Narcissism, and the Psychopathy. Owing to their negative nature, researchers have labeled them as the dark triad. Though they do not always occur together. The dark triad may sound very sinister, but these traits are not clinical pathologies hindering everyday functioning, but they might be expressed particularly strongly when an individual is under stress and is unable to moderate any inappropriate responses. Sustained higher degree of dark personality traits can cause individuals to derail their career and personal lives. Machiavellianism is the degree to which an individual is pragmatic, maintains emotional distance, and believes that ends can be justified by the means. Machiavellianism is the degree to which an individual is pragmatic, maintains emotional distance, and believes that ends can be justified by the means. The personality characteristic of Machiavellianism was named after Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote in the 16th century How to Gain Power. The individuals with high Machiavellianism are pragmatic, maintains emotional distance, and believe that ends justify the means. If it works, it should be used. High mecha personality are more manipulative, win more, are less persuaded by others. Surprisingly, Machiavellianism does not significantly predict the overall job performance. High mecha employees manipulate others to their advantage. They win short term at the job, but they may lose gains in the long term because they are not liked by all. Machiavellianism tendency may have ethical implications. One research showed that the mecha job seekers are less positively affected by the knowledge that an organization engaged in the high level of corporate social responsibility, suggesting that high mecha people care less about sustainability issues. Other study revealed that the ethical leadership behavior were less likely to translate into followers. Work engagement. Another study found that Mecca's ethical leadership behaviors were less likely to translate into the followers' work engagement because the followers see these behaviors as the surface acting. The second personality trait, as per the dark triad, is the narcissism. Consider a case of a girl, a beautiful girl. She often looks into the mirror and she finds herself beautiful. She has an extravagant dreams about her future and considers herself as the person of many talents. Is, the, is she a narcissist? In psychology, narcissism describes a person who has a grandiose sense of self-importance and requires excessive admiration and is ignorant as narcissists. These people often have fantasy of grand success, a tendency to exploit situation and people, a sense of entitlement, but lack empathy. Narcissists can be hypersensitive and fragile people. They also may experience a lot of anger. Narcissists think that they are overqualified for a particular position. When they give feedback about their performance, they often tune out information that conflicts their positive self-perception. But they will look harder if rewards are offered to them. The brighter side of narcissists may be more charismatic than others. They have this attraction in them. They also might be found in business and are more often found in the field of politics, acting. They are more likely to be chosen for leadership positions. And medium rating of narcissism, that is not extremely high, not extremely low, are positively correlated with leadership effectiveness. So there are some research evidences which suggest that the narcissists are more capable and are better decision maker than the others when the issues are complex. Psychopath, the third personality of the dark triad. Psychopath, as defined, is a lack of concern for others and a lack of guilt or remorse when the actions cause harm. The measures of psychopathy attempts to assess the motivation to comply with social norm, impulsivity, willingness to deceit to obtain the desired ends, and disregard, that is lack of empathetic concern for others, antisocial personality, which is closely related to psychopathy and is positively related to advancement in the organization, but unrelated to other characters of career success and effectiveness. The research have suggested that psychopathy is related to the use of hard influence tactics and bullying work behavior, that is physical or verbal threatening. The cunning displayed by people who are high scorer on psychopath may thus help them gain power in the organization, but keep them from using it towards healthy ends for themselves or their organization. So the three recent characteristics, or you can say the personality traits, which are existing in every individual in different forms, are the Machiavellianism, the Narcissism, and psychopathy. There are few other personality traits given in different books. One of them is the type A personality. Type A personality are characterized by their aggressiveness, their aggressive involvement in chronic and intense struggle to achieve more and more in less and less time. And it can be against or opposing the efforts of other people. Type B personality. They are rarely in a hurry and desire to obtain a widely increasing number of things. They participate in endless, growing series of events and an ever decreasing amount of time. Type C personality is characterized by someone who responds to stress with dispersion and a sense of hopelessness. Type C personality have the tendency to be introverted, respectful, eager to please, conforming, and compliant. Type D personality is characterized by a joint tendency of experience negative emotions and to inhibit these emotions while avoiding social contacts with others. The observation that a cardiac patient with type D personality are at an increased risk of cardiovascular morbidity and mortality underlines the importance of examining both acute depression and chronic personality features that are present in the patient. The type D dimension are associated with reactivity to stress, greater reactivity to stress. And they are at an increasing risk of coronary, heart diseases, and other medical disorders. Type E personality people love to create things. They need to be continuously challenged. They feel difficulty in delegating work, develop long-lasting friendship, love to have time for themselves. We have studied till now the concept of personality, the determinants of personality, the research by Sigmund Freud, various types of personalities, including the Myers and Briggs model and the Big Five personality. I would like to throw more light on one more instrument that can be used to understand personality of an individual. And it is called as the fundamental interpersonal relations oriented behavior. That is FIRO-B. The fundamental interpersonal relations oriented behavior is a highly valid and reliable tool to assess how individuals' personal needs affect the person's behavior towards the other individual. This highly validated and reliable self-report instrument offers an insight to the individual's compatibility with other people. Pyrobi measures the person's need for expressed behavior represented by E and wanted behavior represented by W. Expressed behavior is what a person prefers to do and how much that person wants to initiate action. Wanted behavior is how much a person wants others to initiate the action and how much that person wants to be the recipient of it. The instruments also measure the person's need for inclusion, control, and affection. Inclusion is the feeling of recognition, belonging, and participation. Control is influence, leading, and responsibility. And affection is about the closeness, warmth, and the sensitivity. So this instrument helps to measure the expressed and wanted behavior with the person's need for inclusion, control, and affection. Through this instrument, an individual or the manager would be able to understand how the person can be developed, what leadership trainings can be provided to an individual to support his leadership, how team building can happen